Epic Games recently accidentally leaked a potential release date window for Wuthering Waves. So, Wuthering Waves is releasing through the Epic Games Store, apparently. That's the first time that I'd heard about it. I figured they would have their own independent launcher. But what Epic Games put up them on the store page with a release date of May 30th, 2024 listed on it. It was quickly changed to only say it is releasing in 2024. The May 30th was removed, but this shows a potential window in which at least Kuro Games might have estimated their release to Epic. With the release of the closed beta 2, lots of players were pointing out little flaws and errors here and there, as well as a few major changes that they would like to see done to the game. And as a result, it was believed that they would push back the release date further. However, there is a few issues with pushing back the release date any further than in October, their licensing agreement will end, and what this means is that they will lose their opportunity to release Wuthering Waves past then unless they renew their licensing agreement, which could cost some more capital that they've already spent quite a bit into Wuthering Waves after the rewrite. Also, there is apparently a law in China, I don't know how accurate this is, that the last beta that a game has is the only one that can have monetization enabled in China, while this most recent closed beta 2 had monetization enabled. What we can assume from this is that this is the final beta, and any changes they want to make to the game would not get further testing. So as far as a stable version of the game, what we got in closed beta 2 is as close as what we're going to get until release. Now, taking my own personal thoughts into the matter, I personally predicted that an early June release of Wuthering Waves was perfectly reasonable. From what I saw in a lot of people's closed beta playthrough, the game is in a very finished, polished state. It just needs a few changes here or there to things that can be changed, in the background. As well as for the actual game itself, it's pretty set. For instance, a lot of localization issues can be easily changed. You gotta remember, they rewrote 90% of the story for Wuthering Waves. This beta test did not have any English, Japanese, any other vocals other than the Chinese vocals. What this says to me right out the bat is that it is in a localization phase of development, where they are passing along all the game files and all the dialogue and whatnot to the voice actors and having them reread the lines so that way they can get them into the game. This is typically one of the last steps that a game would have along its development, so that way you can make sure that it's localized and good to go. This means that the core Chinese version of the game was already voice acted, so they already had a lot of the content planned out that they needed. Now, as for other issues, such as the ecosystem, these are things that can be easily just tweaked. One of the changes that I think would benefit a lot of people is if they made it to where you no longer required the tuning mats to reveal a substat on an echo. Honestly, that might just be the biggest change needed, is to just show the substats innately, or at least reveal them as the artifact is leveled up instead of needing an additional resource in order to reveal them. Another issue is that there isn't a convenient way to get XP for the artifacts, so you will get a lot of the echoes, but you will not be able to level them up. And I feel like they could do that by increasing the drops from the domain, while also maybe giving you like the lowest tier XP whenever you dismantle artifacts. So as far as the ecosystem goes, I think there are some simple changes they can make on the back end that won't require a whole lot of lengthy development. A final issue that people have going into it being released is they have issues with the story. And in my opinion, that's just going to have to be how it is. There are people that don't like the story, and I've also heard people that do like the story. The ones that don't like it appear to be a very vocal amount, whereas those that find the story fine or don't care are not as vocal. So it's hard to say exactly what percentage people like the story as opposed to what percentage do not. But with that being said, I don't think that they're going to rewrite the whole story again. Like, I think this is what we're getting. They're going to have it voice acted now. And to be fair, a lot of the issue might come from a rough translation, because a lot of the translations are currently very rough. So maybe it'll be ironed out on release. It's hard to say. We'll just have to wait, but I don't see them rewriting the story at this point. The game has to come out, and they don't have the time to do that, because then they would have to remake cutscenes, they would have to get new dialogue written, voice acted, all that. It will just add like another 6 months to release, and they don't have the time for that. So I don't see that really being something they address or adjust going into this. Either way, it looks like Koro Games believes they can hit a May 30th release date, or at least around then. Personally, I would like to see a late June release date, just because then I would be accurate and I could say, haha, I got it right. But May 30th isn't all that different in the grand scheme of things. From just looking at the game is in a finished state. They just need to polish up a few edges. And they got a month or so to do it. So, what do you guys think about Wuthering Waves coming out soon? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in a future video. Peace.